Let's call this meeting of the Natural Resource Board, regular meeting for Tuesday, December 6, 2022. If we could have a call to order and a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, if we could have roll call.
Yes. Mr. Bradley? I was told he's on Zoom.
He's on Zoom.
You're unmuted, Mr. Bradley.
Mr. Bradley? Ms. Haggerty? Here. Ms. Callahan?
Present.
Ms. Ware?
Present.
Mr. Stadelman?
Present.
Ms. Billman?
Present.
Mr. Carano?
Present.
And I'll mark Mr. Bradley present. Thank you.
Thank you for the roll call. If we could have a motion for the approval of the minutes from the September 6th, 2022 meeting.
I make a motion that we approve those minutes.
And I second it.
Can we get a voice vote to approve that motion? Aye, say of aye.
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 Same sign for nay. Ayes pass the approval of the minutes. All right, we'll move on to item number 5, announcements. Number 1, we'll welcome our new environmental technician, Miss Felicia Gordian. Yay. You want to say a few things?
Turn on your microphone, but I would like to say a few things, Mr. Chair, when Felicia's
Okay,
finished.
Ms. Frazier can say a few things.
I just want to say that I'm very grateful to be here. I'm enjoying the new job so far, and I'm really looking forward to working with all of you and working on all the projects we have in mind.
Thank you. And I'm Lisa Frazier, the Community Development Director. I know we haven't seen each other in a while. We were supposed to see each other last month, but this thing called Nicole came blowing through. And is it true there's another one blowing out there?
Yes, ma'am.
Holy cow. So we have our work cut out for us as a natural resource board, if you know what I'm saying. Anyway, I am so happy that Felicia is here working with us and for us. As you may or may not know, she was an intern for a little while, and then she graciously applied for the open position. We actually had some really nice candidates come in, but of course Felicia rose to the top, having already been there and worked hard to figure things out. She's still, what is the proper saying, wet behind the ears? Is that the saying?
No.
That you would not be familiar with? Where they're untested yet.
Here we go.
But let me tell you, she is really, any assignment we give, she just jumps right in. So one of the big things that we're going to do, because as we know, our former environmental planner had taken the reins and moved forward, quite autonomously in a lot of ways. So for my benefit, her and I, Felicia and I, are going to go back through the whole Sustainable Sebastian work plan and come up with some of she's already started going back through the files, all of the things that we have said we've wanted to do. I have put things in the budget that I know we all want to do, such as more of the LID and natural resource planning, such as like Tulip Pond. So we want to go back through, kind of come up with a list, and then we'll bring it back to you all, of course, and have you rank it so that we can be more purposeful in our work this year and really, come together as far as what we need. I know a lot of you have been emailing Felicia saying, when is this going to get on the agenda? When is this going to get on the agenda? Please keep doing that, because we are trying to get everything on the agenda. But please remember that it has to be, way in advance of the week. We have to send out our agenda a week before the meeting. So, getting us something a day before is a little tricky. But a couple days before, then we have a chance to at least talk to you about it and figure out which way you want to go. And we appreciate that. So I'm excited that Felicia is here. I know you are all excited to be back together. I think that's all I had put in for Felicia. Felicia, anything you want to add? You good?
I think I'm good.
Okay.
Does anybody on the
Thank you,
board have
Mr.
any
Chair.
questions for Felicia? Okay. Thank you for joining the team, and we look forward to everything that you bring. And thank you very much. Okay, we'll move on to item 2. The holiday parade date is set for December 10th, 2022 at 6 p.m. And usually we march in the parade, but this year we're kind of late, so I don't know what we're going to do.
Well, we'll discuss it down under new business.
Okay,
and
all
really
right.
make that, I just wanted to make sure everybody was aware
Okay,
of
that's
it.
just announcements. Okay, well, a holiday parade date is set for December 10th, 2022 at 6 p.m. Hopefully we'll see everybody in Sebastian out there. And, it's been 5 deep, both sides of the road, every year we've been out there. So the city really likes it. And, we'll try to get some environmental sensitive stuff to hand out. Remember the first year we did it, and Ms. Mosblick was keen to let us know about those plastic wrappers on those terrible candy canes. So, but we won't make that mistake again. Okay, we'll move on to item 3. Indian River Lagoon Symposium will be February 23rd through the 24th, 2023. And do you have anything on that, Ms. Frazier, you wanted to?
It's in the agenda
Okay.
packet, pages 10 and 12,
Well,
for further information and registration.
okay, I got it. It's from the Johnson Education Center, Harbor Branch Oceanographic Institute at Florida Atlantic University, February 23rd to the 24th, 2023. The Indian River Lagoon Symposium is the result of a multi-institutional, multi-agency effort to provide a forum for discussing the Indian River Lagoon science and its application to management of the lagoon. The symposium is open to scientists, decision makers, students, education, and outreach professionals, and the interested public. So everybody can go. The intent is to facilitate better communication among these groups so that the gaps between research and its application can be narrowed. Oral presentations and posters on all aspects of science relating to the IRL, Indian River Lagoon, are encouraged. How's that?
Perfect, thank you.
Does anybody on the board have any comment on that?
I have
Okay.
one question.
Yes, ma'am.
Is any city person planning to attend this?
Not at this point, no.
Okay.
Do we want to champion this program from the Natural Resource Board, or do we have any intention of doing something like that? Would somebody like to champion, I mean, does somebody here want to make sure that they go to it and just put it on your schedule?
I'll double check my calendar, but I'd be happy to go.
Okay, I'm going to try to go, and then if you go, we'll make a report back,
You
and
want to say anything you want?
Felicia could go.
I would be happy to attend if I
I'm
have to.
teasing. If you got time, great.
I don't know what she's going to be doing on February 23rd.
I'm sure there's plenty to do by then, yeah, no. Any other comment from the board on item 3?
Yes, if you all,
Okay, got,
I just was curious, is that during the week?
I'm not really sure.
I'm not sure if there's a weekday.
Yes, yes. Is your microphone, you gotta talk into it a little bit.
Oh, yes, it's on. Yeah, I was just wondering if anyone knows what I can look, but. I was just wondering if we know what day of the week that was.
Thursday and Friday.
Okay.
Thursday and a Friday. Thursday and a Friday. February 23rd, 24th, Indian River Lagoon Symposium.
And that's down in Boca?
That is,
It's at Harbor Branch, which is,
Oh, at Harbor
That's at
Branch.
Fort
Oh, that's
Pierce.
at Fort Pierce. That's
just as
doable.
you're going into Fort
Yeah,
Pierce
I've been
on
there.
Old Dixie.
Okay.
It's a really nice facility if you guys haven't been there.
I, I have
Another
one,
question?
request. So if the two of you decide to go, or anybody decides to go, may we please have that as an agenda item, just to have a quick synopsis from the event?
A
I'm not
follow-up?
able to go, that's it.
Excellent idea.
Thank you.
And this was, Jeff Carrier requested that this be put on the agenda. He couldn't be here this evening. And so that's why we put it on there, so that if you're interested, you're all citizen scientists, some active scientists, so he wanted to make sure that everybody knew it was happening. Okay?
Any other questions from the board? Okay, we're going to move on to our item 4, a sunshine law presentation by our most illustrious city attorney, Manny Anon Jr. Woo!
Hello, mic on? We good?
Mic on?
I think it is. Well, first of all, good afternoon, good evening, I'm sorry. For those of you who don't know me, I know I've met Charles,
Yes, sir.
your chair, many times. I don't remember or recognize the faces. Maybe I haven't, I apologize. My name is Manny Anon Jr. I'm the city attorney, been here for about 3 years now. And I was asked by your clerk, obviously your chair, to do another follow-up presentation from last time it's going to cover several areas. So I'm not sure who has a lot of experience with who's been here for more than a couple of years on this board. All right, so maybe it might be preaching to the choir, so just endure with me for a little bit. The whole idea of the training is just to stimulate, thought and what is or is not a violation. So I'm going to learn, because I'm not very techie here, so I'm going to click it. So this is going to be the roadmap, and I'm going to try to play along as we go. This is going to be our roadmap. I'm going to cover basically 3 areas. Usually every year, which I'll do it again this year with council, I do government and sunshine law training. Also do public records. I don't do ethics because they usually have their outside training that they're required to do. For you guys, I'm doing a special board committee revision, and for the council, I'm going to be adding provisions dealing with the charter, something new that I want to add for their training this year. So that's going to be the roadmap. So moving right into it, so we can move quickly. And by the way, you guys have a presentation in front of you. It's 3 slides with little notes you guys want to take. Feel free to take. This is for you to take home. I don't need it. If you have any questions, jot it down there, and we'll try to catch you at the end if you have any questions. So the first thing is Florida Government and Sunshine Law, also called the Open Meeting Law. And it provides, obviously, access to the public to our government meeting, to this meeting, and as well as to council meeting as well. It's so important and so enshrined in our law itself that it's covered in our Florida Constitution, which is quoted here, Article 1, Section 24, Bravo. And I'm just going to read it. I brought a copy of it. And that says, all meetings of any collegial public body, including municipalities, at which official acts are to be taken, or at which public business of such body is to be transacted or discussed, shall be open and noticed to the public. So that's in our Florida Constitution. That just goes to show that this is important. Both of these, public record as well as sunshine, is in our Constitution. Next slide. This is the main thing. This is a Florida statute. I'm in the military. Well, I was in the military. I'm retired now as of June. So in the military, we have, when we do training, the proctors, the people who are doing the training, they have this saying, they start stomping on the ground when it's an important slide to take away. Well, this is one of those foot stomping moments. This is an important slide to take away because this is the actual law in a nutshell. And it gives 3 reasons. The law talks about in section 286.011, 3 things that has to occur for sunshine law to apply. Number 1, it's got to have it open to the public. All meetings can be open to the public. Number 2, it must be reasonable notice. And the last one, minutes. Notice I didn't say, transcripts or whatever, just minutes, basic minutes. Doesn't have to be a verbatim transcript, but at least minutes have to be taken. Those are the 3 requirements that are required by the law. There you go. So open meeting requirements. So unless these 3 requirements are met, no two or more members of a board or a council can meet and discuss anything that's foreseeable actions that come before them, including this board as well. And we'll get into specific questions. I also broke these slides down into kind of like Q&As, giving you guys, instead of training you by just, like we say in the military, death by PowerPoint, I try to have questions so you guys could see the applications of the law as well. So this is the main thing, is that unless these three requirements, and go back again, those are them. It's got to be open to the public, reasonable notice, and reasonable notice is defined by law, so we're not going to get into that for this purpose. That's up to me and Madam Clerk. And minutes have to be taken. So as long as those three things occur, if you have two or more members of any board or council member that get together and they cannot discuss anything that is foreseeable action that comes before them. Otherwise, if they do, it's a violation of the Sunshine Law unless they do 1, 2, and 3. So, first little question I have, and this is just general things I've been talking around to, ask you guys. So this is just a general question. Can any members, of course the answer is there, unfortunately I don't have the slide and stuff, but can any members during a public meeting raise a non-agenda item and take a vote? The answer is no. And the reason why, even though you're in a public meeting, the key thing that's missing is reasonable notice, because again, I said it's a non-agenda item, so it wasn't on the agenda, so you can raise issues, but you can't take an action, a vote on it without, again, all three of these. In this case, you only have number 2. You don't have number 2, which is notice of that non-agenda item. So again, these are just takeaway questions. Feel free to take your notes and follow up later with you. So who's covered under the law? The board, this board, any board, council members, commission. The next bullet and the third bullet are important to me, which is elected or appointed board members, which is what you guys are. Appointed board members also have to apply by the law. The last bullet, there is one person acting on behalf of a board or commission or acting as a liaison between these boards. I think of that as a proxy person. So for example, me, as an attorney, I cannot sit there and talk to my five council members separately and say, hey, council member Dodd, this is what Vice Mayor Nunn told me on this issue. Then go to Nunn and say, hey, by the way, this is how the mayor is going to vote. Because what I'm doing there is I'm actually violating the law, and I'm acting as a proxy, pretty much acting as a liaison between everyone to take a vote. And that actually happened in the city that I live in, which is Port St. Lucie. Exactly that issue where the attorney was acting as a proxy between all these council members, and they took a final contract back to the board to vote without deliberation. So it actually is case law out there on that point. And that's what I mean by that last bullet, acting as a proxy or a liaison between parties. The next slide, does the open law apply to members-elect? In other words, for example, currently we have the new member who was just elected, which is Councilwoman Ms. Dixon, Kelly Dixon. The moment she was elected, the law applies to her. So, for example, when we were sitting out there at the, I think it was Captain Harem, we're all waiting for the election result, when she knew she was elected, she now became a elected member. At that point in time, none of the council members who were there can come up to her, hey, by the way, I know you're elected, but you're not sworn in yet. Let's talk about, the annexation agreement right now before you get sworn in. That's a no-no. That also violates the Sunshine Law, because people who are members elected also apply. Okay, this is one I get kind of often about socializing with you guys, with members of the same board or similar boards. The question is, can two members of the same board socialize? The answer is yes. Of course, you have that appearance of impropriety, and it does happen here regularly. There's nothing wrong. For example, tomorrow, a lot of board members, including myself, will probably be attending the December 7th Pearl Harbor Day. We're all socializing there. It's an event. We're not violating the Sunshine Law. We're not, talking about anything that could come before them in the future. We're just socializing as veterans, in memory of December 11th. Same thing. Parties. You guys can attend parties together. Same thing, go into football events or talk about social stuff like that. That's permissible. As long as you don't discuss items that come before the board, 2 or more, then you'll be fine. As long as it's anything social, you're fine with that. I think that's clear. Now, this is also applicable to us here, because if you don't know what happened a couple years ago with 3 of our council members, we were the first, I think the only city in the entire state of Florida that's ever gotten rid of a majority of the board. I want to say we're probably the only one in the country that's ever gotten, through a violation of this, got rid of the entire board, majority of the board. And the difference between the first and second one, I would like to compare to the Vice Mayor Monty at that time. Vice Mayor Monty agreed to participate with the state, so he got what's called an unintentional violation. It's non-criminal, so slap on the wrist. He got a fine, and he moved on, and of course he testified. The other two individuals, they decided to take their luck, went to trial, lost. Now they're subject to all appeal, and that's what they could be facing. It's a second-degree misdemeanor, punishable by $500 a day, jail time of up to 60 days. And since they have multiple violations, it's multiple. You multiply 60 by the 2 or 3 violations that they had. So this is the actual sanctions that you can face. Also, the governor can take action against you and remove you from office, and likewise, attorneys and court cost fees, which is applicable if ultimately they are presumed to be found guilty once the appeal's over. Okay, the next one I want to talk about, and I got the section right here to read, is just a little bit about public records, because it might also apply, and I have some specific questions or takeaways from using social media and things like that. So here, we're talking about public records. Again, it's enshrined in our Constitution, same article, Article 1, Section 24, and the difference now is Section A. And what the public records in our Constitution says, every person has a right to inspect or copy any public record made or received in connection with the official business of any public body, officers, employees of the state, or persons acting on their behalf. So again, both the public records and the public meeting laws are enshrined in our Florida Constitution. And I just want to share that with you. That's where it comes from. Now, what is a public record? The first bullet there, Florida Supreme Court has determined that public records are all materials made or received by an agency in connection with your official business, used to perpetuate, communicate, or formalize knowledge. The main thing is public records, if it's made or received by us and it has to do with the public, with the city of Sebastian, it is considered to be public, and that's the biggest takeaway there. The next bullet, I probably will read it because it's important, only because it's so broad. What is a public record? It's broad. It could be anything. It's not like your normal, pieces of paper nowadays. The Florida law defines a public record to include all documents, papers, letters, maps, books, tapes, digital tapes, CDs, if we create one. We don't have to create them, but if they're created, photographs, film, sound recording, data processing, software, or other materials regardless of the physical form, meaning in paper or CDs, characteristics or means of transmission made or received pursuant to the law, ordinance, or in connection with transaction of official business by the agency. So unless there's an exception to the law, anything that pertains to that has to be produced as a public record. And usually public record information comes through a city clerk's office, but that's not necessarily the only venue from someone can do a public record. It could be oral. Someone can come up to the front desk and say, I have a public record I want to make. They can't sit there, well, hold on, you got to go upstairs and talk to the clerk. That might be a violation. I mean, you have to at least take the information, worst case scenario, and then take it up to the clerk's office and let them know, hey, someone just made a public records request. This is the information, and things like that. So just keep it in mind. It could be oral, but it can be made, even up front. It doesn't have to be with the clerk. The last bullet talks about unless there's a statutory exemption, and that's usually when Jeanette gets involved or I get involved. If we believe, what is exempted from the public records, then we have to look at a book, put out, and I'll discuss that book later, to see if it is an exemption to the law. Okay, what about emails? Here we go. What about emails? An email sent, again, to and from work or home computer is a public record. If it's made or prepared or received in connection with the official city business, again, unless there's an exemption to the law. The Florida Supreme Court has ruled that private emails, not made or received, again, it's not public, official business is not public. Again, it's got to meet the above definition, which is in red. It's got to be prepared or made or received in connection with the official business. That's what makes the email public. So I got some questions that I developed here today, as I sat in my office. Emails, text, okay? Let's talk about that. So for example, Manny Anon, I email or I text my military commander and I say, hey, how's drill weekend? Unfortunately, I use my city laptop or I use my city cell when I email and or text my commander about the drill weekend. Is that a public record because I use my city laptop and or cell? The answer is no. The reason why is because it does not retain or pertain to city business. It has to do with my military business. Unfortunately, I use the wrong venue, but it doesn't make it public. It's substance. It actually deals with substance. Second example is a bit different. Here I have an email or text, and now I'm emailing or texting Paul Carlisle, city manager. And now it's from my personal laptop or my cell phone, and I'm asking him, hey, about the annexation agreement. Hey, what's going to happen? What do we need to do? Meet. And now, is that a public? It could be considered public. And that is, how I have it up there, it is a public record because it relates to public or city business. And the reason why I switch back and forth is to understand that sometimes, depending on the venue you use, as long as it's made or created and deals with the public, it can be public. So it can be a public record, which means then you can drag in your own personal laptop. You will probably be responsible for keeping track of that stuff because you made your personal emails and you made your laptops or your cell phones for purposes of the public, and now it is accessible. Someone can request that. Text messages. I recommend, I barely ever text anyone because of the record. I barely ever, rarely, probably since I've been here for 3 years, never have I left a message on anyone's voicemail, especially on the city phone, because I know it's a public record. So best thing I recommend for text is, if you have to text, make it short and to the point, whatever it is. Running late, just short, to the point. Same thing, avoid anything substantive in nature, because you can make it a public record. Social media is usually private. You can make it public if you start talking about your personal stuff here about the city business on your social media. You can make it private. You can make your private social media public. But normally, Facebook, Twitter, those things are usually not public business. You don't conduct public business, and usually it's not subject to the public records request. Other thing I have here is interesting notes, meeting notes, because I heard that today. Meeting notes. You guys, if you guys up here, your notes you're taking right now, is that, since you're taking your own notes, if you are, is that a public record? Because you're something I created, I gave it to you, but now you're taking your personal note. Is that a public record? Any thoughts? He says yes. All right. It depends. A good lawyer answer. It depends. And it depends if you share that information. So if I take my notes and I share it with someone, then it's not my personal notes anymore. So at that point, it becomes a public record. Technically, it can. So as long as you take your personal notes and you keep it yourself and you walk away with it, it's not a public record. Same thing with cell phones. And this is happening, I've actually seen this. People on the dais, they say don't use your cell phone. Because if you get a call and you pick it up, on the dais, they can subpoena that. They can ask you, well, who you're talking to, and they can get a whole ball of wax for no reason at all. So that's why we don't have cell phones usually on, at least when the cameras are on and when the dais is going, your cell phone's on the dais. Because of that. Almost done. All right, so this is just a slide so that you'll understand that the law does require that we have to retain this stuff, these records for a long period of time. I don't retain them. The city clerk does in her office, and she had that vault in the back, and she maintains all the public records for the whatever the retention period is. She knows it, and she keeps it. I think I lost track of my stuff here. Here it is. All right, so this is just a summary slide, almost done. This is just a summary slide, again, about, open meetings, sunshine law, no interaction with another board member or a member of the same council or board, except during an advertised public meeting. Those three things. It's got to be a public meeting. Minutes have to be taken and reasonable notice provided. Public records, again, council, board, commission members must not dispose of any materials. Again, this is the key takeaway, made or received, stomping moment, made or received that relate to city business. That's the main thing. That makes it public. If it's made or received and relates to city business. Any questions, of course, feel free to call me if an issue comes up, or Madam Clerk. All right, so the last thing I want to talk about is the resolution that passed back on June 22nd, 2022, and this is really quick. A lot of stuff happened, and what we decided to do, the council wanted us to go to the individual boards that actually wanted the training, and, excuse me, that wanted the training so we can at least understand the changes to each and every, because all the boards have been impacted. And this is something that council members came to us with their concern. It took a while to draft it, coordinate it with our council, and ultimately, went through the public meeting and we passed the ordinance. So this is the new agenda. And I don't know, I assume the old agenda was because it's always been that way, but council decided to make some changes, and this is it. So specifically pertaining to this board, a natural resource board, your future agendas have been modified to conform obviously to Section 4 of meeting specifically to Category 2 of the city. And what that is, what you do is you provide advice. So we broke it up into categories, and for Category 2, it talks about boards that advise the council. And in your case, obviously protecting and preserving and promoting our natural resource board. So these are the subtle changes that we've had to this specific agenda for this board. The first one, there will still be public input, unfinished business, and new business. The only really big takeaway is no longer will be board matters. That section has been removed with the new format. Now, the only way you guys can bring up issues that you want to bring up in future agendas, number one, you can talk to your new liaison. You let her know, hey, there's issues that come up. I'd like to bring this up for the future agenda, and then you can work that way. You can also ask your council, you're elected, the one who appointed you, to get that as well, to get onto your agenda. So those are the two ways you can put things on the agenda. Sure. You're going to slow me down now, Charles. Almost done, but go ahead.
When you say that we can contact our council members, do we just email them directly on that, or?
You can call them individually. You can if you have an issue you want to see, that you want to raise, I would suggest probably talking to your liaison, but that is the second option, is if you want to see something in your future agenda that obviously you no longer have that board members matter, that was how council perceived it, is that you can work through your liaison, in worst case scenario, talk to council, and council will talk to Jeanette to get something like that on your future agenda.
Thank you, sir.
All right. So the last slide that I want to show you, these are just general changes. The first one, the new thing which is important to the council, was a definition for resident, which we, believe it or not, we never had a definition for the resident. And now you have to be a resident for 1 year. It requires all board members to be a resident for 1 year prior to the application. And also important, that third arrow, requires alternates to attend all meetings to help keep the momentum of the board's projects and ensures quorum. That's a requirement now. The second takeaway there is the Robert Rules of Order. They still apply. Of course, that's always a guideline, but they do apply. It's important to say it's a guideline to council. It's not like etched in stone that you got to do it, but it is a guideline. Robert's Rules of Orders are guidelines for us. The chair controls the meetings. Everything's got to go through the chair. He has the gavel, and the gavel controls the meeting. Nothing should be said other than through the chair, and all matters go through the chair. That's pretty much it. So, on behalf of the City Council, on behalf of City Clerk, who wanted me to come here today and train, on behalf of your Community Development Director, thank you very much for everything you do for this committee. Obviously, it's amazing what you guys do. And if you guys have any questions now, I'll take it. And if not, I conclude by wishing you guys a Merry Christmas and prosperous 2023. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question on the Sunshine Law.
Okay.
In an instance where two board members get together and we are working towards something, and a more concrete example would be we have the Sustainable Sebastian Initiative. One is called For Litter Quitter, which entails several activities associated with it, but one would be that we would go to a restaurant along the waterfront and we would talk to the owners, managers of the business and ask them specifically, present to them and have a discussion with them. And we could do that in a couple of us could go at the same time. So conducting activities that were voted on. Originally, we have that sustainable Sebastian plan. We're not discussing something that we would now vote here at a meeting. Are we able to talk about good way, like we're off on our own and all we're doing is talking about, hey, I think the approach might be best to talk to this person in this way?
Okay, that's gonna be a tough one, so I'm gonna answer it in two different ways. Again, I don't recommend two people, if this is something that's gonna come before, because it sounds like this issue will come before the board ultimately to take a vote on, I would caution, having two members, at all in that sustainable meetings, down the future, if it comes before the board. And I do not know, so, I guess if that is an issue, Lisa can come to me and ask me that specific type of question. But if two members of the board and this sustainable issue comes back to this board for a vote, yes, that is a sunshine law violation. If you guys are just there gathering information and you guys are not discussing anything that's going to come before the board, then the issue is no. So I would really need to know specifics, facts, and I don't answer hypotheticals. Literally, if someone has a question, I always say, even to Lisa, put it in writing, and then I will do the issues. So if it's a more specific question than that, giving you a general answer, I feel comfortable saying it that way. But if it's a specific question that you want raised for you guys, you can raise it to Lisa, come to me, and I'll be more than glad to offer that opinion. But hope I answered the question by kind of like sidestepping it. But it's tough. It's tough because I always say, if it's two or more people, we're going to have an issue, and it sounds like a sustainable issue might come before you guys on whatever, and who knows what happens during that meeting. If it's something like that, yeah. But now if it's just two people just going and hanging out and having conversations with these people and gathering information, again, what's that information? Is the information coming back? Are you going to take action when you come back? Then it could be a violation. So, again. So
I can make a comment on that. It's an awkward situation because I've had to go to several meetings with council people or we're out doing something, and all of a sudden, three of us are standing there, except none of us are saying anything.
Well, council people are different. You're not in the same board as a council member.
Well,
if it's board members.
Well, we were doing a pickup for the garbage out of the Indian River Lagoon.
Okay.
And there's three of us standing around.
That's fine.
Well, we don't never know what to say when we're out there because we're all doing the same thing.
That's not going to come before this board to make a decision on it. You guys are out there collecting, waste out there.
Oh, no, that's not what I mean. I mean, like, we're all just standing there, we're like, hey, what do you think about this?
No.
No, right, exactly.
Again, if it's something that's going to come before this board, the answer is no.
Yeah, we just be quiet and we just stand there in awkward silence.
Oh, yeah, but I don't know why. You guys can socialize.
In reality.
Don't misunderstand. You guys can socialize and you guys can talk. It's just very simple. As long as it's something that's not going to come before this board. If you know it's something that could come before this board, then the answer is no. Don't talk about it.
But in reality, we're not a decision-making board.
It doesn't matter. This board is appointed and it applies to law. You guys have to have it's applicable here. Sunshine law does apply to you guys.
I understand that, but 99% of the things that happen in Sebastian, what's that? It's on. 99% of the things that happen in Sebastian were that it doesn't come in front of us.
Then you answered your own question. You want to give me more specific details? I will answer it. I don't like answering hypotheticals because of this. You're going to say, oh, the lawyer said I can do it. The answer is no. My answer is two or more people on issues that meet on this board, on issues that could come back before this board, it is a violation of sunshine law. So, other than that, it's a general answer, and I got to give you a general answer to your question. Unless you have specific facts and then give it to me in writing, I'll be more than glad to answer that. Yes, ma'am.
So let's say, for instance, I'm going to get specific here because I do want to understand what.
Go ahead and answer your specific question, but if it's a specific question, I'm still going to ask it in writing, but go ahead, I'm listening.
Like, if, say, we were going to do litter quitter, and,
I don't know what that is.
Okay, say we were at the cleanup, the intercoastal cleanup.
Okay, there you go.
And somebody said, next year, maybe we should do this.
Ooh.
That's what I'm saying. Is that right there? So you just keep that to yourself and put it in writing to your
I would just, if you have an idea, like I just mentioned earlier, if you have an idea for future agendas, you got to go to your liaison.
Yeah. Is that why everything in government works so slow?
I can't hear you.
Is that why everything in the government works so slowly?
Well, it's only, except for state law, state legislatures don't have sunshine laws, unfortunately. They cut themselves out of this. Only we have to comply with this crazy law, and we do, to the best of our ability, even during COVID, which was amazing.
I'd like to just comment on that. The area is still kind of rocking from what happened with the last three councilmen. That's really where that's why they're so sensitive about it here. They were calling people on this board. Those three councilmen were, it was reported right away. They were doing things that they don't want to happen here. They're trying to get rid of the good old boy, where everybody used to do things their way and leave us stressed out. But it does slow things down. It feels like it does, but it also constrains it so that something doesn't happen outside of what you really want to occur. That's all I got. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, last thing before I leave, I just took a cough medicine. This is a great book, by the way, and it's put out by the Florida Department, General Attorney's Office. And it's a great book. I get it for free, obviously, in book format. However, you can go online and you can download it, which I do have it downloaded because it's easier to search for certain things that I'm looking for, items. So, it talks about the public records and it talks about the sunshine law. It's a really good manual to have, and I recommend it to anyone that's on a board to at least have the digital version of it. So you guys, if you have a question, you can always search there, in worst case, and also you can ask us. So, subject to any other questions, I'm done. Again, happy holidays, guys.
Any additional questions from the board? Anybody out there? Any questions?
I'd like to ask a question.
You're not permitted to ask questions.
Felicia, what is your question, ma'am?
You want to ask me a question or them?
I want to ask you
Oh,
a
okay.
question.
That's
Are there limitations in my interactions with the
you're not
board?
elected official.
I mean, as far as what, like, they can say to me and...
What you cannot do is what I did earlier. I think you know what you mean. You cannot be a conduit, but you're not, the law doesn't apply. But me as an attorney, I cannot sit here and talk to them and say, oh, by the way, Charles is going to vote this way, what do you say? And then start polling the board. Sorry, I walked away. Start polling the board for an answer. That's what you cannot do, because then you're a conduit and you do violate the sunshine law.
So, okay, for example, I need information for them about an event that we're going to do, and I cannot reach out to each individual and receive their response, and then discuss at the next meeting what their responses were?
I didn't understand that question. So it sounds like you're just getting general information from the board. That doesn't violate.
If I poll them for their opinion on an action that they will have to take.
No, can't do that.
Cannot do that?
No.
Okay.
No. Cannot poll any of them for any future action, because then you become that conduit.
Okay.
So that's what happened in Port St. Lucie. All right. That's it.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you, guys.
Congratulations on that retirement. Don't spend it everywhere. Any other questions from the board for our illustrious city attorney? Anybody participating on Zoom? Okay, we will move on then. Thank you again for that. To number 6 on our agenda, any agenda modifications? Seeing none, we will move on to item 7, public input. Is there anybody on Zoom for public input?
No, sir, no one has raised their hand.
Thank you. Is there any additional public input? Not seeing anything, then we'll move on to item 8, unfinished business. Item A, Tulip Pond project update. Project progress. A, deliverable has been some, oh wait, did you want to do this, Felicia?
I can, unless you'd
Okay,
like to
yep.
read these parts. All right, so we do have our first deliverable that was delivered to the Indian River Lagoon Council per their grant requirements. In the deliverable, which I actually have a large hard copy here if any of you would like to take a look, it was included in it was the Tulip Drainage Project construction drawings and the as-built drawings from that initial project that if you guys remember from our meeting back in September, that project was done in 2016 when they first put the tulip pond in. Next in the deliverable was the project website, then the water quality testing quote for the cost of the testing, the fountain specifications for the particular fountain that is going to be put into the pond, the planting plan for prospectively where the new trees and the new shrubs and the new littoral zone plants will go, and then the planting services proposal from Aquatic Vegetation Control. That is their quote essentially for taking invasives, if there are any invasives, removing them from the property, and then also transplanting native plants from other areas in Sebastian to the tulip pond. All right. And we have conducted the baseline water quality tests. There were 4 things that were tested. We tested for nitrogen with the, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, the Keldal test. That just means it's the method or digestion for quantitative determination of nitrogen contained in the organic substances and nitrogen in the inorganic substances, ammonia and ammonium. You'll be able to find this in your agenda packet, the results that should be on the last page, page 5 of the tulip water quality test pages. We also tested for nitrite as N, which means that both nitrate and nitrite were tested together. That was 0.042 milligrams per liter. I actually don't realize I didn't say it for, the nitrogen was 0.447 milligrams per liter. We tested for our pH, which was 7.5 standardized units. Per Ruth's, I actually reached out to Ruth to ask her for her opinion, her professional opinion, because she is a chemist, so she's the one who knows most about this, much more than I do. And in her commentary on the water quality testing, she said that the samples were actually held too long outside the acceptable holding time, and she recommended using a pH meter right at Tulip Pond to get an accurate result and avoid the delay in the results. And then we also tested for total nitrogen, which was 0.51 milligrams per liter. And this is just our first baseline test, so we don't have any other information on the pond just yet. But after the fountain has been installed, there will be another round of testing, and at that point, we'll be able to compare the numbers and see how we need to proceed. And I've been very fortunate enough that we have had an article published in the Indian River Neighborhood Association magazine, which you will also find on pages 18 and 19 of your agenda packet. I wrote it and submitted it. We were actually reached out to by one of the editors of the magazine, and he wanted to see if we wanted to do an article. So Karen and I agreed, and now we're published. So.
Yay, congratulations. Send it out to Sebastian Daily, too.
And unfortunately, deliverable 2, the next stage in our project, has been delayed. We're still waiting on the FPL hookup and the delivery of the aerating fountain. There have been some issues because you have to connect the electrical lines to the transformer and then have the line from the transformers all the way out to where the fountain will be. And so that's the next big step that needs to happen before we can give the Indian River Lagoon Council our next deliverable. That is it from me.
Thank you, Felicia. Greatly appreciate that. Does anybody on the board have any comments on the Tulip Pond project? I'd like to just ask one question. Tom, what do you think of this? You seem to be the most experienced in the nitrogen and the testing and all that. How do you feel about what you're seeing there?
Well, I thought the water quality was a little better than I expected. So that's a positive.
Excellent.
The pH is a little higher than I would have thought, and that could be because it was sitting so much. Any algae in the system that was subject to light raised the pH. But other than that, the water quality looked pretty good.
Excellent. Fantastic. Does anybody else have any comments?
I do.
Oh, hold on one second. Let me go left to right. Go ahead.
What would affect
Go
the
ahead.
nitrogen content of the water? I'm sorry, were you going to go first? I'm so sorry.
Yeah, let me take your comment.
Oh, I had a question on the pond there. Does that actually drain anywhere, or is it just that basin? Is it part of our, stormwater system?
It is, yes, part of our, I'm blanking on the term that Karen has said to me a million times, and I don't remember. But it is part of our stormwater drainage system, and actually, we have some pictures from Hurricane Ian, actually. When he came through, we had some good signs that it was doing its job, and it was actually draining through the rest of the drainage pathways, which is fantastic and a very good sign that the system is working as it needs to be. It doesn't look like it, but if you take a close look at a lot of the ponds and lakes and even the drainage ditches around town, you'll see that there's connections under the ground in a lot of places where the ponds will connect to those drainage ways.
Ms. Haggerty, your question?
What would be a major factor that it would affect the nitrogen content or negatively affect the water in the pond, I guess? Would it be runoff?
There would be two. One would be surface runoff that picks up fertilizer. The other would be nitrogen intrusion from septic systems.
Is there any additional questions from the board? Hey, that's going to be a great project for Sebastian in general. It's a demonstration project. It's for commercial demonstrations to show how the commercial businesses can engage in the low-impact development and lower your commercial tax rate if you're doing these things. So this board has a direct impact on what we're having to pay in this city. Again, we serve at the pleasure of the Sebastian City Council, and as well as the drainage of the area. So that whole area has always had a problem. So this is almost a 2 or 3 for 1 for Sebastian. Is there any additional comments from the board on the Tulip Pond project?
Not on that pond, but in general, again, I'm still new to this, but the pond adjacent to the skate park, where there's a lot of water lilies and stuff in there, I don't recall that there's any aeration going on in that particular pond. Do you know, I think it's on, is it on Rosebush? Rosebush and Barber?
I believe that's correct.
So is that a little different than what we're looking at here as far as like putting the aeration and stuff in it? Because I don't recall that there's anything there. It just looks like a pond.
So let me just jump in and say that this is a grant that we received that Stormwater, our city engineer and public works director, Karen Miller, and Felicia went in on a grant, applied for a grant, I apologize, with the Indian River Lagoon NEP program. And it's a small demonstration project is what it's called.
Okay.
And so that's why you're seeing these improvements here at this pond, and it was determined that an aeration fountain would help with the water quality there. And but we're hoping, as we map through, this is a great question, as we map through our whole green infrastructure program and look at all of these other different opportunities in our city, that we can start identifying them. And as I stated before, we put in the budget this year for another demonstration project. Smaller, has to be less money than what the grant's giving us, but, you know, we can start looking at those things. So keep your eyes out, and then when we begin well, we've already begun the whole green infrastructure plan, we'll bring it to you all, and we can all hash out where some other opportunities might be.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you for being on board. Appreciate it.
Is there any additional comments from the board? Any additional comments out there? Maybe anybody on Zoom? Okay, not seeing anybody. We will move on to item number 9 on the agenda, new business. All right, we'll do item A, Barbara Snow with the Earth Day event presentation and proposal. Correspondence
Chair?
on page 20, 21 through 25.
Mr. Chair, if I may?
Yes, ma'am, Ms. Frazier.
Okay, so, I'll tell you the background where this is all coming from, because I'm sure you're all curious. So, we always do Earth Day on Earth Day, and, Ms. Snow has a business. I think she just finalized the Winter Wonderland, I want to call it, that was just in the Riverview Park, recently. And so she came to the city, was wondering if she could have that weekend to do the Earth Day Garden Fest celebration. She was told, quite rightly, that, no, I'm sorry, NRB has Earth Day in the park on that day. So Ms. Snow and I took the opportunity to talk to each other and say, well, what is it that you do? Because I am not an event planner. Let us put that out there right there. I'm a long-range planner. I will write code for you, but I don't do events very well, ask my husband. So I thought, well, maybe this is an opportunity. The former environmental planner, really, she did that on the side. She was great at that stuff, right? I'm not saying Felicia won't be or could be. I'm just saying she's new and it's a big lift. So I just wanted to bring this to you all, let Ms. Snow talk to you about what she does, and see if this is something we want to coordinate together. There would be big differences in what happens. So I want you all to be very much aware. And we don't necessarily have to come up with a decision this evening, but, you know, we should at least give some kind of direction to Ms. Snow as she moves on with her business. I want to, before Ms. Snow begins, there's two glaringly different presentations here. When we do the Earth Day at the Riverview Park, it is a city-sponsored event. All of our vendors are free. There's a lot of educational activities that go on there, and it's only one day. And Ms. Snow will, of course, charge for vendors, so you'll have possibly a different mix of vendors that will be there. And I believe she's still requesting for 2 days. Am I correct? 2 days. So I'll let Ms. Snow go up and explain to you all what she's presenting, proposing, and then we can have an open discussion. How does that sound? Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Wonderful, thank you.
Hello.
Hello, Ms. Snow. Thank you for coming.
I just wanted to say, for your reference, I know you said, Charles, that all of her information is in the agenda packet, so if you want to follow along with her while she's saying. And then also, I drew up a little comparison chart just to kind of summarize the baseline comparisons. So as she's going through her discussion for you guys, that's all there, and might make it a little easier to process all the information that we've got for you.
Sure. So right now I have 3 events on the calendar per year, and Winter Wonderland actually is next weekend. It's a 3-day event. It's all free for the community. I have Cinderella, the Grinch, Mrs. Claus, and I'm using the city Santa Claus. I have a photographer for free pictures. I'm all about bringing the community together for free events. I get the money potentially from businesses to sponsor each item so that the families can attend for free. And it's really kind of picking up momentum. I am completely full for Winter Wonderland. I have a map of the park, as you know, it's completely full. So this should be a really big deal for the weekend before Christmas. So I decided, well, I wonder if there's anything I could do in the spring. And that's where this all started. So my next one is in January for the Sweet Tea Sip and Stroll, and that's pretty popular as well. I bring the community together for everything is free. I don't have alcohol. I don't do any of that. It's all about the kids for me. And what I'd like to do for Earth Day is find someone that can teach these children how to save our Earth, basically. You know, maybe have some booths and teach them some items and propose to do that and bring these community together to save our planet, basically. So it just started with that, and I'm not free because the police department is there the entire event, and overnight, and it's a big expense. However, they like the extra money, and I don't mind either. So it's a win-win for them, and I don't charge very much. I'm not about the money, I'm about the community. So I really don't know what more to say.
Well, I think.
If you have any questions.
I think one of the things that you and I had talked about is that, of course, the city booths would be
Yes,
free.
they would be free, and the nonprofit also, I like to give back, and they would have free booths as well.
So all nonprofits, and of course, the
And
city
the
booths
city.
would be free. Ms. Snow, what she generates from charging different vendors, she has to pay for the trash, she has to pay for the
Police department,
there's
musicians.
musicians. And so the city staff would not be, hold on, I've got a list somewhere and I can't find it now. Here it is, from my notes with our staff. She pays for safety, trash, removal, setup, all the permits, there's safety permits and all the permits that are required. Carts, you know, for vendors to move back and forth in there. She rents the stage.
Actually, I have not rented the stage yet.
Oh,
It's
okay.
expensive.
Okay,
It's really expensive, so I just have a local musicians, and they just play where the cement pad is, in the middle.
I got you.
And it works out really good.
So, you know, this is something, of course, there's no alcohol, no road closures. I'm reading from my list and talking to our staff. Again, there's a change. This would be 2 days, we're 1 day. We still have it scheduled to have the waste management come and do their shredder event in the, help me,
The parking lot.
parking lot. What is the name of it? It has a name and I can't, I'm dead right now. I'm sorry? No, the big parking lot for the boaters. It's Cavcore, good Lord, Lisa. Cavcore parking. That's still gonna go on. That is still something the city will be doing, obviously. That is our event. I guess, you know, and we haven't really flushed out anything, but in our initial conversation, it was like, could this be something that's coordinated between the city and Ms. Snow and make it successful? If you all said, you know, sure, but we want the stage, then of course, that's, you know, the city half. I don't know. Do we say half the park's ours? I don't know. I don't know how this really flushes out. I'm leaving it to experts to flush this out. And you all may say, never mind, we want to keep it amongst ourselves.
That's fine, too.
You just all have a heavy lift ahead of you, and so I just want to make sure that you're fully aware of what's being discussed here. Okay?
Do you want us to comment on this now?
Sure.
Of
Okay.
course, please, ask questions
let's-
and.
Let me say one thing first. What is the value of what you're bringing to what we've already been doing for Earth Day? Because we do a really good Earth Day, and we like beer at Earth Day. It's been good for us.
I would love to have beer, however, the city doesn't allow it for me. It has
I
to be
don't
a
believe we have
nonprofit.
We had beer, yeah, and it was great.
Yeah, I would
Oh,
like
you
to
did the
also,
last
but.
time?
Not last year because we had an issue with the vendors with Kim, but they were both going, I would have been there. So, but the year
In order for
before
me to
that-
have beer, I have to not make one dime. It has to
Okay.
all be
Well,
donated to
hold on one
something.
second. Beyond that, what is the value you would be bringing to our Earth Day?
I would be bringing all the businesses in the area together. I'm very organized and I could fill the park just as well as you can. It's a lot of work and I understand you have someone new, which I'm fine either way. I just thought I would offer it. Can I say something?
Oh, wait, hold on a second. Let's go left to right like we normally do, and then we'll come back. Tom, you got any questions?
Well, I'm assuming when you say government agencies would be free, all government agencies, any subdivisions thereof? Mm-hmm. Okay, I just want to make sure that.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to leave out the Indian River Lagoon people or.
Oh, no.
Or the Fish and Wildlife or whoever.
Yeah,
whatever
any nonprofit,
government.
of
Okay.
course.
Do you have any other questions, Tom?
No. I understand why they're doing it. You have a new employee that's going to be overwhelmed enough and.
Right.
And this takes all of that off her plate. I'm sure Kim used to go through hell for the 3 months prior, moving up to this, so. this may
Normally, we'd be right up to our eyeballs already. We're behind already 2 months.
This may be, a good alternative and work out very well.
I can attest that in my conversations with Ron Paul, who you might be familiar with at the front desk, he has said that Kim was running around like a chicken with her head cut off right up until the very last minute for Earth Day, and he has seriously encouraged me that if we still have charge over Earth Day rather than going with Barbara Snow's event, that everything needs to be handled much further in advance to make sure that we can get things done and not be as stressed out for the coming Earth Days.
And we're behind right now. Ms. Billman?
Yes, I just had a question. Again, this is like the sunshine thing. Is it okay for a board member to talk directly to Barbara?
Oh, during the meetings?
No, I mean, outside
Outside
of
of the meeting?
Hey, as long as it's just you, sure.
Okay, okay. I just wanted to.
As long as it's not you in charge, you
Got
and
it.
Charles and Barbara talking or something to that effect.
Hey,
I just want clarification.
I've been good. Ms. Billman, is that all your questions?
And I'm okay just doing it this coming year and handing it over as well. It is a lot of work.
Ms. Ware?
Hi, I don't know if you know, but I'm the president of the Sebastian Art Club.
Oh, hello.
Okay, so we do our own shows in the park
Right.
fairly frequently. And my one concern from this board perspective is we have a hard time getting all these government groups to come for one day. How are we going to get them here for 2 days?
Very good.
And, I mean, you're talking about like 20 organizations that all have volunteer, there are people that come to the park that day, aren't paid for that day, you know? So now you're asking them to provide it for 2 days. So I don't think that you're going to get that kind of participation if you tell them they have to be there for 2 days. And to try to organize around that will be difficult. And I've been to your programs, and I see how many people you bring in, and I think it's wonderful. But I also think that it's really going to put a damper on the environmental people.
I can address that if you want.
Okay.
I have a 3-day winter wonderland, and there's lots of people that cannot do Friday, and they only want to do Saturday, and I allow it because I have 1,800 vendors, and if a certain person doesn't want to be there on Sunday, I can put someone in that spot.
How does that address what she said about the government people, though? It's different with a paid vendor who's out there making money. They're going to make money.
Right.
But the people where she's help with all the city people that we use?
No, see, that's what we're the tit for tat is, if you will, the give and the take that we're discussing here. Let me answer this, and then I do want to talk about Ms. Ware's comment. So that if we went, and she is an event organizer, that's her job, that is her company. So she will have to be in charge of cleaning up the park and all. So our park personnel will not have to work that day. She pays for the police officers overtime. So all of that is taken care of so that city staff doesn't have to take that on. Which again, we're not saying no. I mean, we have city-sponsored events and they have been successful. I'm just throwing this out as an alternative because it rolled in front of me and I thought, why not? But to answer Ms. Ware's comment, you're right, I'm sure, about government staff. You know, they would only want to be there for a full day, possibly. You will have a different mix, maybe not this year, but if it goes on like this for several years, you will have a different mix of vendors, and you know that. Because, I mean, in the past, it's been free. And so if you're a small mom and pop, you may not want to pay. And I'm not saying anything wrong about.
No, I'm real
Ms.
inexpensive.
No, I know, and you know, this is a business, and she has her expenses that go along with it all. But you will have a different mix. And that is something that you need to consider, absolutely. And maybe 2 days isn't the answer, I don't know. Do we do something that's kind of coordinated between the two? I mean, I want to ask the question, when you have, when you say government entities and nonprofits will be free, well, what if we have 50% is, nonprofits
Well, then the
and,
police department has to be free. They're my biggest expense,
sure.
quite
So,
honestly.
will there be a limit, I think, then on what you say? Because I don't know how many spots are there. I mean,
Over 100,
conceptually,
over
over
100.
100. So let's say you're going to allow 25 of those spots to be the nonprofit-free
Then I will
people.
find sponsors who will pay for things to make up for
I
that.
don't know what your number is.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing that out there. Do you have a number in your head?
Yes, I usually typically charge $90 for the weekend.
No, but I'm saying, do you have a percentage
Oh,
that
of
you would
how many would be
allow
free?
could be free? You'd have to probably think about that,
Yeah,
I think.
I mean,
yeah.
I could, 20? I don't know what your list looks like at all. I have no idea what your list looks like or how many vendors you even bring to the table. I don't even know.
Okay.
So if I have 100 vendors, I could, offer 20 free booths, if that's,
We can
how many
consider
you
that going forward. Ms. Callahan, do you have any questions?
Just some added thoughts, and that is, by combining, I think that it kind of changes the feel of it. I think that for those on the board that come and spend all day on a Saturday, we come up with like kids' activities, educational opportunities. A couple of people were heavily involved in doing the oyster beds and going down there, and that's a set time. I think that it would stretch us, and then those that, what we were trying to cultivate and do as a group, it would be spread thin, and it would certainly just change, I think, the event itself to do a combined event. And I'm not saying that I don't like your event, I'm just...
do you have a vendor list that you had from last year that I could follow? I mean,
Last 5,
I'm fine with that
6
too.
years.
Yes, we have a vendor list that we go to every year and always give them, hey, would you
Yeah.
like to come back?
Sure.
I'm thinking, like you said, who would be there? And
Right.
I'm not sure that that's still getting us where we want to be for our event that we've always had.
As we're going forward, just like all of us, just keep an open mind on everything. It is just an idea, it's not something we have to do. We're not going to vote on this tonight, it's not an actionable item, but we do have to move forward relatively quickly because Earth Day we're already behind on Earth Day. Ms. Haggerty, did I say that right? Haggerty?
Personally, I was ready to put some muscle behind our traditional Earth Day. I think it is one of our largest community outreach days. I've only been on the board for a short time, but I have been to the Earth Day event several times, and I enjoy it the way it is. And I feel like if we lost that, we would lose our largest outreach day, and it would disorganize us if we wanted to come back to do it our way again. So
All right.
that's my input on that.
Thank you, Ms. Haggerty. Is there any additional input from the board? Anybody on Zoom participating on the board?
I have one
Ms.
furthering
Callahan, go right ahead.
comment. Thank you. I know that on Earth Day, you spend a lot of time on stage and talking through the entire day just about Earth Day. I mean, your emceeing is impressive, but the amount of information that is conveyed, continuously through the day, even a little bit from the bands that are up there, especially the ones that are on the ukuleles, and dressed in bee costumes. I think it kind of pulls together that theme. Anyway, I wouldn't want to lose that through the whole day either.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Callahan. Greatly appreciate it, and they're very important. Is there any additional comments that you have,
No,
Ms.?
I'm good either way.
Okay. Does anybody want to comment on it right now? How do we discuss this, Ms. Frazier?
I think you're discussing it right now, and please continue as much as you need. I mean, Ms. Snow is here to answer questions. And it's really up to this board. I do want you to know that should you decide to go with Ms. Snow, then because of the venue size and everything, it does have to go through the county commission, or, oh, Jesus, the city council, following, if that's the way you want to choose. If you choose to keep it among yourself, I can assure you, I don't want anybody to believe that staff is saying, no, we can't do this anymore, we're exhausted. We are here to support that. It is your big event, and if that's how you want to go, then we'll go that way. It's really up to you. If you want to make the decision tonight to help Ms. Snow move on, then I would encourage that if you feel that you're ready to. Am I correct?
Sure,
Ms.
either way.
Snow?
It takes a long time to plan it.
It does. It absolutely does.
And let's keep in mind, Charles, we're already 2 months behind. We lost 2 months worth of meetings that we should have already started. I have concerns whether, with the holidays coming, whether we are going to be able to meet the goal that we want to meet for an April show.
When is our Earth Day?
April 22nd?
For us?
Yes, ma'am.
And we really run out of time by March, really, because there's nothing we can do after that. Well,
I think
well,
one
hold
more
on a second. As a board, do we want to discuss this right now and make a decision?
Sure.
Can we get a consensus? Do you want to talk about it right now, or you want to think about it and come back?
I think it would be tough to wait another month
Yeah.
and then make a decision.
All right, let's go ahead and hash this out now then.
I think we should decide now, too.
All right.
I'd like
then-
to add something just for more food for thought. Whether we go with our own, whether we keep it in-house or work with Barbara Snow, I have a lot of ideas for new vendors that I would like to have incorporated that I would love to see at either Earth Day event. I think it is really pertinent that more earthbound, so to speak, organizations and businesses are brought to Earth Day, because in previous years, we've seen, just like regular mom and pops, which are fantastic, and they're part of the community, so of course they should be there. But there are other organizations around town that never come to these Earth Day events that are very, environmentally related, and I think it's extremely important that these people are there and, get more business in the community. I don't know if any of you realize this, at the previous Earth Day this April, I actually convinced the Humane Society thrift store, Sebastian, to join in the Earth Day event and become a vendor. And maybe the connection's not immediately obvious, but buying things secondhand rather than buying them, factory made, is extremely environmentally friendly. You can upcycle and, thrift flip and do all these amazing things when you aren't purchasing something that came from, a million miles away and was made with, unrenewable resources or non-renewable resources. So that's just, one of the many ways in which we can make the Earth Day event even more sustainable than it already is. And so I'd love to share these ideas with you if we choose to go with your event or if we choose to keep it in-house. But I think that's something that I wanted you guys to know, that this is something that I've already been brewing with and setting with, knowing that Earth Day is going to be coming up very, very quickly.
Let's start over here. Tom, do you got any additional before we take a consensus?
No, I'm ready to go.
Okay. Ms. Billman?
Unfortunately, I'm still so new at this, I don't really know quite what to expect, so I'm kind of ambivalent.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is a free country. We're allowed to be ambivalent. Ms. Ware?
I'm trying to think how to say this. I just think that we put a lot of work into this, and I don't want it to be blown up into some big thing that we lose our community. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's okay.
Because if we have a big thing like this, how are we going to show up next year and not do it? That's what I'm worried about.
And it's good that, your emotion shows that you feel this is important. Ms. Callahan?
I don't have anything more to say.
Okay. Ms. Haggerty?
I think I'm with Ms. Ware. Even though I am new, I feel like I'm ready to do whatever I can, which I do have a lot of time right now to keep it a board function.
If we keep it, if we turn it over, we will lose a lot of, what we have built, it feels like. I mean, a lot of that camaraderie, but also, we also lose a lot of that work that we do. It's months and months and days, and like you're saying, the day that we're doing it, all of us are just wiped out for like a week later. And it's been that way for 5 years now. Plus, we use up all of city staff and our own budget. How?
Can I say something?
Go ahead.
So when I came to see what was available on the calendar, it wasn't with the intent of taking Earth Day over. It was just that's what they thought was available on the calendar. And I'm like, oh, okay, you know, fine. That's how that started. I don't have to take it. I'd be more than happy to help you for this year coming and give it right back.
Would we be able to affect what you're doing? And so like if they did go with it, because some of the things that we do like the stage, and
Yeah.
we do like beer. Because it made
I love both,
it
and
made
you
a big
know, if I don't
difference.
have to pay for it, I'm fine with it. It's a lot of money to have the stage, and they won't let me have alcohol ever unless it's all donated to someone, which I'm willing to do that as well. Like any
Didn't we do
profit that you make from a beer vendor, it can go to whoever. I don't need any of it.
I think that's what we did actually, yeah.
What I recall was the Rotary Club manned the booths.
Yeah,
and
I'm fine with that too.
They got the,
And we can work some of the details out. We didn't have it last year, but everybody missed it. And even, Mr. Mayor Jones had come up and said, oh, it's a different event without the
Oh, wait a minute. I do remember having a beer 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I didn't go last
There
year, and
wasn't
that's why
any.
I'm like, and then I remember
Yeah,
2 years
'cause
ago, I
of-
remember
'cause of
having a beer.
COVID and everything.
Yeah.
I mean,
Is
I
the board
remember
ready
that.
to vote on this?
That's
I
again
have
up
one
to you
more
all.
question.
Because it seems like we need to either move forward. Okay, go ahead.
One more
Ms.
question.
Haggerty.
What I'd like to know is who is ASAP Pest Solutions? Is that somebody we would want to sponsor an event?
oh, they sponsor all my events.
But who are they? And
They are a pest control that they do in Sebastian and Palm Bay. They have like a small area.
I just, it feels slightly concerning.
Oh, because
To
they
have-
spray for pests, or, yeah.
Now,
probably
we'll still be
lawns and
able
things,
to, okay, I'm just going to go down your list here, because
Yeah.
it's a little bit easier.
Sure.
You have vendor participation fees, where we do it for free. It looks like you're charging about $90 a
If I do
spot,
2 days, yes.
okay? Number of vendors, you know, they're within 20 of each other. Length of the event, we're 1 day, and it's solid. You're 2 days, that's going to be solid. That's a tough one. Just
I
the-
could do 1 day as
yeah.
well, either way.
Event setup, we always start at daybreak, so it's pretty much it. Live music, admission is the same, parking's the same. The number of food vendors is pretty much up to you. You're gonna have as many as you can.
Right.
Local business participating, yes. Volunteer event, for us, it's yes. Now, why is there nothing there?
I have volunteers willing to pick up trash. I just picked them up this year for Winter
But
Wonderland.
you're a paid person. You pay for all that to be picked up.
Yeah, but this year I have volunteers, I'd have to look at my list to see who they are.
Because we do everything from the volunteers, from the boys club.
Yeah,
To
it's
the
kinda
local
like that.
rowing people. I mean.
They're gonna pick up my
At the end of the
trash.
day, there's a lot going on there. Kid-friendly events.
Yep.
Sorry, Charles,
What?
can I add that, I made the,
I heard the
the
voice
spreadsheet.
somewhere.
The volunteer event, when I was referring to that, was actually, with the Living Dock event in mind, so like having an event that you guys could go, like people can go out to do, not just having volunteers helping out at the event. I don't know if that
Okay,
was clear.
right. And then what we did with the Living Dock is we basically, everybody would sign up, and actually the councilman went out, and Dr. Carrier went out, and and Mr. Corallo went out, and they would do these different events like we're talking about, would we still be able to set those things up?
I guess, sure.
So our personal events and our flavor of everything, we could still really impact what you're doing. Okay. Raffle event, you can always, I mean, I don't know if you hold a raffle event, we do. Now the waste management event, paper shredding, are you gonna do?
I'm not, that's something they do.
Sorry, they've muted me. That is, as I stated before, that happens in the Cavcore parking lot, and that happens the same day, and we are taking care of that.
Okay.
That is something that we do as a city with waste management.
Thank you, Ms. Frazier. And then obviously, it's your budget, not ours. And then, and our Natural Resource Board involvement, we help run the event. And, but then will we still have a booth there like we normally do?
yes.
Okay, so we still have our booth and everything. And the vendor requirements, is just like they usually are. They got these forms to fill out and everything else. So it sounds like, other than the 2 days, a lot of it's going to be the same. And,
It could be
that's all I
one
have
day,
to say
but
about that.
the biggest expense is the police department wants to be there the whole entire time, and they're $42 an hour. So that's the biggest expense right there. And I don't mind paying them. I like having them, actually.
Okay, let's deal with this as
So,
a
yeah,
board.
you know.
Let's get a consensus. Do I have to amend the agenda for this or anything? All right.
No, I don't believe so.
Let's get a consensus, see
Can
where we're at with this.
Sorry, may I also, I wanted to pose a question to you. I know when talking to Ron Paul about the potential event changes, that he mentioned that you might be able to do your event the weekend after Earth Day.
Correct.
Would you still be willing to do that if the board voted?
Yeah, of course.
No?
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
of course.
Let's get a consensus, just a yay, simple yay or nay. Tom?
I say yay.
Ms. Billman?
Yay.
Ms. Hagerty, way down there?
I'm going to say nay.
Nay? Ms. Callahan?
No.
Okay. Ms. Ware?
No.
And I'll go with no as well.
Okay, no problem.
There's Marcus maybe on.
Oh, Marcus, are you there? No. Okay.
He just unmuted.
I see your name, but that's about it. But either way, it wouldn't change anything.
I just want to thank Ms. Snow very much, and I feel bad because she was stuck in traffic.
2 hours.
2 hours.
Thank you. Yeah, it was
Two fatalities
Yeah,
tonight.
there was a
Motorcycle on
fatality.
US 1 and another one on I-95 at the same
It took
time.
me 2 hours to go 4 miles.
Terrible.
Oh, my
So
goodness.
Yeah.
I want to thank
Okay,
you
it's not a problem.
because we've been educated and and we know that you're a resource out there and we
Okay.
appreciate
Yeah,
that
not a
so
problem.
much. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you
much,
very
Ms.
much.
Snowden.
And
Greatly
thank you, board,
appreciate that.
for considering this.
Right, back
And now
to
Felicia's going to put you to work next week.
I
agenda.
think it was a very,
You can do it. You guys are, see, I'm the one who's scared because I haven't been a part of it. And I'm like,
Yes, thank you. And then, if something else comes up, we'll be glad
Thank you so much.
to do something else. I'd like to thank all the board for participating in that. I know it's sometimes a little difficult for us to do these things.
Nice to meet you.
Okay, let's move on. Item 9, new business. We'll go to item B, the holiday parade preparation. Now, this is an action item. Okay, now, are we doing the holiday parade?
Yes, of course, you're more than welcome to. And the action item was, do you want to do a float or do you want to walk with a banner? It's now Tuesday and the parade's Sunday, or sorry, Saturday. So I think the float might have floated past. But the banner idea is still viable. Does this board want to come to the parade and walk with the banner, and at this point, Felicia looked for the seeds, the old seed packets, and we have none left. So again, we apologize that Nicole came through and, you know, we're all a little behind.
Well, I think it would be awkward not to be giving out anything. I mean, it wasn't even just seeds. We had other information packets we were giving out too, didn't we?
We still have lots of information packets. Kim left us with a plethora of educational pamphlets and outreach pamphlets that we can use, that you are more than welcome to have. And I will print out more copies of our tree ordinance pamphlet if need be, if you would like to hand that out, for example. It doesn't have to be that one.
Right. But we had it on the float. We had the information on the float. Yeah. I don't-
Information was on the
We
float
had all
and
the
on the
little
seed
cards,
packet.
and we just got a bunch of that stuff too. Well, I think the question is, we're done with the float, so we're not gonna do that. Are we going to do the banner? I don't know if you guys have walked that banner or not, but it's actually kind of a tough walk, I have to admit. It's a mile down the road, and you're gonna have to walk it. We ran it the other time with the float, you know?
I had a conflict. I'm not able to attend, so I'm
Okay.
not a decision on any of this.
I also have a conflict, so
Oh, no.
I'm going to attend the
Yeah.
parade, but not participate.
I'm having my eye operated on.
You
this.
also just had hip surgery too, didn't you? Okay, anybody else wanna walk with the banner? No?
No, it looks like we're gonna skip this year.
It's like there's not enough people to make, who are these people? You know, just a walking banner, a banner holder.
Well,
you
it
know?
has lights and everything else. Are we required to march in the parade?
Oh, no, not at all, not at all. And again, I feel really bad that
I think it would look.
things have fallen apart. I really do, under my watch. As we know, it took a little while to get Felicia going, to get hired, period. And then, you know, two meetings got canceled, so
All right.
I apologize.
Well, let's just do on this item B, because it is an actionable item. Can I get a motion for the Natural Resource Board to not participate in this year's parade?
I'll make the motion.
And I'll second that motion. And can I get a voice vote of aye to approve the motion for NRB not to participate?
Aye.
Aye. A nay for same sign for nay? Okay, that passes for not participating in the parade.
Next year will be better.
That's it. Okay, let's move on to item C, January NRB meeting date. And this is another actionable item. Board to consider choosing an alternative meeting date to regularly scheduled meeting on Tuesday, January 3rd. Why do we have to change our day?
I'm having a problem here, I'm sorry. I guess you don't, but it is the day, I mean, we're off on the 2nd, and it's a holiday. I'm just giving you that option. If you would prefer.
You guys want to change it?
I would prefer to change. I have people coming in for the holidays, so.
Okay. I'm a homebody, so I can do anything just about any time if I'm not working. Does everybody feel comfortable with changing it to, say, the 10th?
That would be fine.
10th? Okay, yep.
I will
Everybody
note-
checking their calendars?
I may need
You
to
guys actually
attend.
have a life.
I may need to attend remotely if it doesn't matter what the date is.
Oh, yeah, you can do Zoom.
I'm about to be a proud grandparent at that time.
Wow, congratulations, Ruth.
May I take this moment then to clarify for everybody about the Zoom? You have that option, you do, but if not enough individuals are here to make up a quorum, a voting quorum, you cannot vote via Zoom. This is a state statute. So you cannot vote via Zoom. During COVID, of course, that was relieved by the emergency order. But we are back to normal times and regular times, and so you can attend by Zoom, but you cannot vote. So
Well, that's good to know.
please try to be here in person so that we can get a quorum. If you can't make it, if you're sick or you have a baby in your arms.
Grandma.
And please don't come. Please enjoy your life. But that's the clarification for the Zoom, okay?
Okay. All right, so you can't vote, but you can attend. January 10th, everybody?
Go ahead and make it the 10th, and I'll do my best.
All right, if we can get a motion to change the date to January 10th for a regularly scheduled meeting?
I make a motion that we change the meeting of the first of the meeting in January to January 10th.
Can we get a second? I second it. Okay, and then can we get an aye for, to approve that motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Same sign for nay. Motion approves to change the meeting from January 3rd to Tuesday, January 10th. And I'm sure you'll send out notice and all the other good stuff.
I'm sorry, my microphone didn't work. Ms. Dillon, were you the one who seconded that?
Yes,
I
ma'am.
did, I'm sorry, and I didn't have it turned on.
Okay, normally we would do
I
other
make a
things,
motion to adjourn.
There we go, that's right, thank you.
I second.
Second the motion.
All in favor?
All in favor, say aye. Same sign for nay. Motion to adjourn is passed. This meeting is adjourned.